Hello everyone. Today I'll tell you a short story about Cinderella, a tale of kindness, courage, and a little bit of magic. In the quiet of a worn-down kitchen, Cinderella moved with patience. Every sweep of her broom was not just a chore, but a whispered dream, as though she were brushing aside the weight of her sorrow in hopes of one day stepping into a brighter world. Yet even in her solitude, she was never truly alone. Tiny companions scurried at her side, stitching torn fabric and weaving joy into her days. They were a gentle reminder that kindness, no matter how small, never goes unnoticed. The stepmother's shadow ruled the house like an iron gate. Her voice carried commands that weighed heavily on Cinderella's spirit. But beneath the burden, the young girl's quiet heart refused to yield, holding on to hope like a fragile flame. The royal invitation arrived like a gust of spring air. To her stepsisters, it was the promise of admiration and splendor. To Cinderella, it was a distant melody of possibility, one that stirred the corners of her heart. Laughter filled the chambers as her stepsisters adorned themselves in shimmering gowns. Their joy was loud, but beneath it lay the silence of a dreamer who could only watch, clutching the quiet longing that bloomed within her soul. Standing by the window, she held a worn dress close. The fading light of day brushed her face with gold, as if even the setting sun wanted to remind her that hope does not vanish. It only waits for the right moment to shine again. But when the night of the ball arrived, the door was closed to her. The stepmother's cruelty was disguised as composure, yet the finality of that shutting door echoed louder than any words. Still, the story was not yet over. When the soft glow of the kitchen, her loyal friends hurried to mend and stitch. With nimble hands and hearts full of loyalty, they pieced together not just fabric, but the fragile fragments of a young girl's fading dream. But envy knows no mercy. With swift, jealous hands, her stepsisters tore apart the gift of friendship. Threads scattered like broken hopes, leaving Cinderella once again with nothing but tears and silence. Out in the garden, beneath the moon's tender gaze, she wept. Her tears fell like stars extinguished too soon. In the solitude of night, she felt the weight of a world that seemed determined to deny her joy. But just as despair settled, a warm light shimmered among the fireflies. From the stillness emerged her fairy godmother, carrying with her the gentle magic of hope, as if to say, even the darkest night has its dawn. At her feet lay an ordinary pumpkin, yet beneath the wand's glow it seemed extraordinary. In that quiet moment, she realized that wonder can bloom from the simplest of things, if only we allow ourselves to believe. With a gentle flick, sparks danced into the air, wrapping the pumpkin in golden threads of light. In a breath, it was no longer a fruit of the earth, but a carriage of dreams, shimmering with possibility. Where rags once hung, now flowed a gown spun from starlight itself. She turned, her eyes wide with wonder, as if the very universe had draped her in its finest sky. And at last, the slippers, clear as crystal, delicate as morning frost, were placed at her feet. They were fragile, yet strong, just like her spirit. Still, the godmother's words lingered. Midnight would end it all. At the palace, the prince stood waiting. Though surrounded by grandeur, his eyes searched for something genuine, something that shone not with jewels but with truth. When she entered, the room hushed. Time seemed to lean closer, as if even the music knew that a new melody had just begun. The prince stepped forward, his hand reaching for hers. In that single gesture, the noise of the world faded, leaving only two hearts daring to believe in destiny. They danced, they laughed, they moved as though the stars themselves had choreographed their steps. For the first time in her life, Cinderella felt not like a servant, but like someone seen, truly and completely. Then the sound of midnight broke the spell of music. The bells echoed across the palace, each strike pulling her dream closer to its end. Heart racing, she fled down the grand staircase. Her gown shimmered like a fleeting comet, vanishing into the night. Dreams, she thought, are always too brief. All that remained was a single slipper, delicate as a promise. The prince cradled it with care, vowing that he would find the one whose spirit matched such beauty. Back in the ashes, the magic was gone, but her heart still glowed with the memory of the night. For even one fleeting dream can light a lifetime of hope. Across the kingdom, a decree was carried. Every maiden must try the slipper. Whispers spread through the streets, carrying with them the possibility of change. Yet falsehood never fits where truth belongs. The stepsisters twisted and pushed, but the slipper rejected every lie. Fearing the truth, The stepmother locks Cinderella away. Cruelty often seeks to silence what it cannot control. But hope is stubborn. Even the smallest of friends dared to lift the heaviest burdens, proving that courage is measured not by size but by heart. At last the door opened. She stepped into the light, her quiet strength shining brighter than any gown. All eyes turned as she approached. The moment was still, the air heavy with truth waiting to be revealed. And then the slipper fit perfectly, as if destiny itself had been carved in glass. The silence broke, replaced by awe. From her pocket, she revealed the second slipper, completing the circle of truth. Justice, it seemed, could be as quiet as a smile. At last, their hands met again, not in chance, but in choice. The prince saw not just a maiden, but the heart that had endured so much. She left her old life behind, not with bitterness, but with grace. For true freedom is not escape, it is the courage to step forward. The stepmother stood in silence, her pride crumbling into emptiness. In the end, cruelty left her with nothing but shadows. From ashes to starlight, her journey was complete. Cinderella's kindness had written her destiny, and in her joy the world was reminded. When the heart remains true, magic is never far behind. And so, from the ashes of hardship, Cinderella found her place among the stars. Her journey reminds us that even in the darkest of days, kindness can light the way, and true courage can turn dreams into reality. For when the heart stays pure, magic will always find its way. Hello everyone, today I will tell you a wonderful old tale, the story of a poor fisherman, his wife, and a magical golden fish. A story of kindness, greed, and the lessons of the sea. Long ago, in a quiet European village by the sea, lived a poor fisherman and his wife. Their home was a humble wooden cottage, their life simple and filled with hardship. His wife, sharp-tongued and restless, often complained about their poverty, wishing for a more comfortable life. One morning, the fisherman set off once again, hoping the sea would be kind and bless him with a good catch. As he hauled in his net, he did not find an ordinary fish, but a golden one that shimmered with dazzling light. The fish spoke, "Please, old man, let me go back to the sea. I will repay your kindness." The fisherman froze, amazed by this miracle. Guided by his kind heart, he asked for nothing and released the golden fish back to its home in the vast ocean. When he told his wife, she was furious. "Foolish man, why didn't you ask for something useful?" To ease her anger, he returned to the shore, calling for the golden fish, embarrassed to ask for a favor. The golden fish appeared again, listening kindly. The fisherman hesitated, then asked for a new wooden trough for his wife. The wife was delighted, but her joy did not last. Her heart began to crave for more, and more still. Soon the wife's eyes narrowed with greed. "Go back to that golden fish," she said, "and tell it I want a fine stone house instead of this shabby hut." The fisherman sighed deeply. He felt uneasy, but love for his wife pushed his weary steps back toward the restless sea. Once more the golden fish appeared, its scales glowing even beneath the darkening sky. The fisherman bowed and spoke softly of his wife's new wish. In a blink, the shabby hut vanished. A grand stone house now rose proudly, with windows of glass and doors of oak. The wife was overjoyed, dressed now in fine velvet, but her heart grew restless, for the stone walls could not satisfy her hunger for more. She demanded again, "Tell the fish I wish to be a noble lady, with servants at my call and power in my hands." With heavy heart, the old man returned to the sea. The waves now roared louder, as if warning of the greed that was rising. The golden fish surfaced once more. Its voice was calm, yet its eyes seemed heavy with sorrow as it granted the wife's next desire. Now she sat upon a throne, draped in royal silk, her eyes shining with pride. Servants hurried at her command, but her ambition only climbed higher. "This is not enough," she said coldly. "I shall not stop until I rule as queen over land and sea." "Go to the fish. Tell it I demand a crown." The old man's heart trembled. Each step toward the sea felt heavier, as though the waves themselves warned him of the danger of endless desire. The golden fish appeared again, its glow faint beneath the storm. Patiently it listened as the fisherman relayed his wife's newest, harshest demand. And so, the wife became queen. She stood tall upon her castle balcony, a golden crown upon her head, as thunder rumbled above. Yet her greed did not stop there. With a cold voice she declared, "I shall be more than a queen. I will command the very seas, and the fish shall serve me as my slave." The fisherman begged the ocean, voice breaking, "Golden fish, forgive us." She wants the power of the sea itself. His words vanished into the thunder. At last the golden fish rose, but its eyes were filled with sorrow. "Enough," it whispered. "Greed knows no end, but mercy must." In a flash, the castle vanished. The crown fell into nothing. The queenly robes faded back to rags. All her riches dissolved into sea foam. The fisherman opened his eyes to find himself once more on the lonely shore, the storm beginning to fade. At home, the wife screamed with rage. All her glory was gone. The stone house, the throne, the crown, all vanished. Only the broken cottage remained. The fisherman sat in silence, knowing deep in his heart that kindness had been his only true treasure. The wife, exhausted by her own greed, sat wordless by the hearth, no longer daring to demand more. Far out at sea, the golden fish leapt once more, its scales glowing like dawn, free and untamed. The old man returned to his simple work, casting his net into the sea, not for riches, but simply to live. The village lived on, quiet and ordinary, untouched by the storm of greed that had passed through one small home. And so ends the tale of the fisherman and the golden fish, a story whispered by the sea itself. Kindness brings peace, but greed leaves only emptiness. And so the tale of the fisherman and the golden fish reminds us that greed knows no end, but gratitude brings peace. True wealth is not found in crowns or castles, but in a humble heart that learns to be content. Hello, everyone. Today, I'll share with you the timeless tale of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. It's a story of kindness, jealousy, courage, and true love. A young princess with a pure heart, a jealous queen driven by envy, seven dwarfs full of warmth, and a prince who believes in hope. Let's step into this magical world together. In the courtyard bathed in golden light, Snow White moves her broom slowly across the stones. Yet her eyes lift toward the wide sky, filled with dreams of kindness and love, as if she senses her life is about to change forever. Inside the shadowy throne room, the queen's voice echoes as she questions the mirror once more. But when the answer names Snow White, her fingers tighten, and a storm of envy swells silently in her heart. The queen's cruel command falls heavy on his shoulders. Though his body bows in obedience, the huntsman's eyes betray a trembling conscience that refuses to strike innocence. Trusting in gentle hearts, Snow White follows the winding path into the unknown. The forest, alive with whispers and golden beams, opens itself to her like a secret world waiting to be discovered. At the sight of her innocence, his weapon slips from his grasp. Mercy rises stronger than fear, and he frees her life with a desperate plea to run. Terror drives her forward through tangled roots and shadows. Yet as she stops to breathe, the soft glow of fireflies reminds her that not all darkness means danger. Gentle creatures gather around her, their eyes wide with trust. Among them, Snow White feels less alone, as though the forest itself has chosen to protect her. A quaint little house stands nestled among the trees. With cautious hope, Snow White lifts her hand and knocks, her heart racing with wonder about who lives inside. Inside, she finds everything small and charming yet untidy. She smiles softly, already deciding that her hands will bring warmth and order to this lonely place. Her song mingles with chirps and laughter as broom and cloth move in rhythm. Slowly, the cottage begins to shine, as if waking from a long, sleepy dream. Deep underground, Doc works with careful rhythm, each strike of his hammer echoing like music against the stone. Gems shimmer in the darkness, and the dwarf's labor turns the cavern into a symphony of light and sound. As evening falls, the dwarfs march homeward, their cheerful whistles filling the air. The forest listens and answers back, carrying their song like a promise of comfort waiting at day's end. But Grumpy halts suddenly, his finger raised at the glow in their cottage window. His frown deepens. Someone has trespassed into their secret home, and caution sharpens his every step. Curious, Dopey leans in through the window and gasps. Inside, a girl with gentle eyes moves about, filling the air with warmth and the smell of freshly cooked food. Soon, the strangers gather inside to find a table prepared with care. Snow White smiles and invites them to share the meal, her kindness weaving trust where fear once stood. Doc clears his throat and insists on washing before eating. Laughter breaks out as the dwarfs line up, splashing water like children, their worries dissolving into playful joy. That night, Snow White rests beneath a warm quilt, lulled by the sound of the dwarf's gentle snores. Outside, the moonlight cradles the cottage, as though guarding her dreams. At dawn, the dwarfs set off for work once more, but not without warnings. "Open the door to no one," they remind her, voices heavy with care, as mist curls through the silent trees. In the castle, the queen once again demands the truth from her enchanted mirror. When Snow White's name rises from the mist, her jealousy ignites like fire consuming dry wood. With relentless malice, she stirs a dark brew. The apple shines with poisonous beauty, gleaming crimson, a trap crafted to appear sweeter than any gift of love. The queen lifts the potion to her lips, her reflection shattering into fragments. As the smoke coils around her, youth drains away, leaving behind a hunched figure with sharp eyes and trembling hands. An old woman cloaked in deceit. Disguised as a frail peddler, she pushes her cart deeper into the woods. Each creak of the wheels and crunch of dead leaves drives her closer to the cottage, closer to the dark triumph she craves. She knocks with a shaky hand, her voice quivering like an old woman in need. Yet her eyes gleam with hidden venom as she tempts Snow White with the perfect crimson fruit. Inside, Snow White pauses. Torn between kindness and caution, the kitchen hums with comfort, yet the uneasy flutter of birds outside warns of danger lurking at the threshold. With cleverness, the old woman bites into one side to prove her gift harmless. She then extends the poisoned half with trembling hands, her smile curling with cruel satisfaction. The bite is sweet for only a moment. Then the color fades from her face, her body dropping to the ground with a hollow crash. Silence swallows the room, heavier than any scream. The dwarfs storm after the fleeing figure, torches blazing against the wild storm. Lightning splits the sky as they drive her higher onto the cliffs, vengeance and grief fueling every step. They lay her gently within a coffin of glass, unable to bury what they love. The clearing glows with blossoms, a sacred place where sorrow and devotion keep watch day and night. Days turn to months, and the seasons pass over her resting form. Spring rains, summer warmth, autumn leaves, and winter snow all touch her face, while the dwarfs guard her like faithful sentinels. Word of the maiden asleep in the woods reaches a young prince. Guided by whispers and stories, he rides into the forest, his heart stirred by a hope he cannot yet explain. The prince approaches the coffin with reverence, his hand pressing gently against the glass. In the stillness of the forest, he bows his head, grief softening into compassion as he gazes upon her peaceful face. With faith burning quietly in his heart, he leans down and places a kiss upon her brow. In that moment, light pierces the clouds above, scattering golden dust like a blessing from the heavens. Snow White's eyes flutter open, her breath returning like the dawn after endless night. The forest erupts with song, and joy spills through the dwarfs as they clutch her hands with tears of wonder. She embraces each of her small friends, their eyes shining with pride and sorrow. With one last wave, she leaves them behind, but the bond they share will live forever in their hearts. Together, Snow White and the prince journey toward the horizon, the castle glimmering like a promise in the distance. Their story closes in peace, reminding us that true beauty lies not in mirrors, but in hearts that love and believe. And so Snow White found her happiness beside the prince, while the dwarfs kept her memory in their hearts. Her story reminds us that true beauty shines from kindness, and love always has the power to conquer darkness. The morning sun filters gently through the window, painting the room with a golden glow. The old man sits quietly on his wooden chair, his hands slowly stroking his silver beard. His eyes drift toward the distance, carrying with them memories of days long gone. Inside this humble home, the silence feels warm rather than lonely, like a soft blanket wrapping around him. A sudden burst of energy breaks the stillness. The little dog runs excitedly in circles, its paws tapping against the wooden floor. Its bright eyes sparkle as if calling for play, trying to tug the old man back into the present. The room, once quiet, now comes alive with the sound of paws and cheerful barks. The old man chuckles softly, bending down to pick up a worn-out leash. His fingers, though wrinkled, handle it with care and affection. With a creak, the wooden door opens, letting in the crisp morning air. Sunlight spills across the threshold, and the little dog bounces eagerly beside him, ready for adventure. Stepping onto the street, the dog immediately lowers its nose to the cobblestones. Every scent, every leaf, every trace of the world fascinates it. Its tail wags like a metronome, keeping time with its discoveries. The old man watches, smiling, as his small companion turns the ordinary street into a world of wonder. The old man walks at his own steady rhythm, greeting neighbors along the way. Each nod and smile he receives warms his heart, like sunlight reaching into the quiet corners of his soul. His steps may be slow, but they are sure, rooted in the calm of a life well lived. The little dog trots proudly by his side as though guarding a treasure. Suddenly, the dog leaps onto a park bench, its tail wagging furiously. The flowers around sway in the gentle breeze, petals catching sunlight as if applauding the little performer. Its eyes sparkle, chest puffed with pride, waiting for the old man's reaction. Laughter rises from nearby children, adding more joy to the moment. The old man cannot help but laugh, his voice rich and full, echoing through the park. He claps his hands in delight, his wrinkles deepening with joy. The dog's excitement spills into the crowd, drawing the attention of nearby children. For a moment, the park feels like one big family, bound together by simple happiness. Then from across the grass, a ball rolls into sight. The dog's ears perk up, eyes widening with curiosity. Without hesitation, it bounds toward the ball, leaving the old man startled. Its little body moves with the speed of pure excitement, chasing the unexpected gift from fate. The old man's heart skips a beat as he rushes forward. His steps are hurried, almost clumsy, driven by worry. He fears the dog might bump into someone or vanish in the crowd. Around him, voices and laughter blur together, yet his eyes never lose sight of his golden companion. But instead of trouble, the dog triumphantly trots back, the ball held gently in its mouth. Children erupt in cheers, clapping their hands in delight. Its little tail wags as if proud to return what was lost. The old man slows down, a smile replacing his worry, touched by the simple act of kindness. Breathless, the old man sits down, letting the weight of the moment sink in. Relief washes over him like a gentle wave. His chest rises and falls, but his heart is lightened by the realization that joy often comes with a dash of surprise. Around him, the park has returned to calm, as if nothing had happened. The dog climbs onto the bench, nestling against his side. Its warm body presses close, head leaning onto the old man's arm. In that simple gesture, a bond deeper than words is revealed. The world may spin with noise and motion, but here, on this bench, there is only loyalty and love. The setting sun paints the park in shades of orange and gold. The old man gently pats the dog's head, feeling gratitude swell in his chest. Memories of loneliness dissolve, replaced by the certainty of companionship. In the glow of twilight, he knows he is not walking this journey alone. Side by side, they make their way home. The road glows with the last light of day, stretching out like a gentle path guiding them forward. Each step carries the quiet rhythm of trust. Though small in the vast world, together they feel complete. At last they return to the familiar porch. The warm glow of lamplight spills from the house as stars scatter across the night sky. The old man and his faithful dog sit side by side, gazing upward in quiet wonder. A long day has ended, but their hearts are full. In the stillness of night, they find happiness in the simplest of treasures, each other. On a snowy city street sat Ethan, a 10-year-old boy with empty eyes and an empty stomach. He had never known the comfort of family or home. Crowds rushed past, arms full of bags, eyes fixed ahead. To them, Ethan was invisible, just another shadow in the cold. Through the diner's glass, he watched steam rise from bowls of soup. His heart ached for nothing more than a warm meal. But one woman slowed her steps. Anna noticed what the others had missed. The small boy shivering alone. She knelt down and placed a warm sandwich in his hands. Her smile said more than words. "You matter." Ethan stared, clutching the sandwich as if it might vanish. His eyes welled with tears. Kindness felt foreign, yet precious. Behind her, David watched carefully. His look was cautious, but there was warmth in his eyes. Sophie ran ahead, clutching her doll, smiling brightly. "Go ahead, eat," she said with innocent joy. For the first time in days, Ethan smiled back. It was shy, fragile, but real. And so they stood together, a family of 3 and one lonely boy. For Ethan, the night suddenly felt less cold. Ethan followed them hesitantly, unsure if he truly belonged. Yet each step toward their home felt like stepping out of the cold and into hope. Anna opened the door to a home filled with light. To Ethan, it felt like another world entirely. Sophie skipped ahead, proudly showing Ethan the couch, her toys, the family photos on the wall. She welcomed him as if he had always been there. David placed a blanket gently over his shoulders. The warmth felt heavier than the fabric. It felt like trust. At their table, Ethan tasted a real family meal for the first time. Each bite was more than food. It was belonging. Days passed and laughter filled the house. For the first time, Ethan laughed like a child again. Anna taught him small chores, letting him help in the kitchen. It wasn't duty, it was a way of saying, "You are part of us." David held the bicycle steady as Ethan wobbled forward. The boy who once only walked alone was now learning to ride beside family. Sophie and Ethan painted together, their hands messy with colors. For him, it was more than play. It was childhood, returned. That night, he fell asleep without fear, wrapped in warmth. For the first time, his dreams were sweet. 2 years later, Ethan walked to school beside Sophie. The lonely boy on the street was now part of a family's daily life. At school, his hands shot up with confidence. Knowledge and kindness had begun to replace fear. At night, David patiently guided him through homework. Each answer wasn't just about learning, it was about growing strong. Anna straightened his jacket every morning. To her, he was no different from her own child. Ethan laughed as he ran across the field, chasing the ball. At last, he had friends and the freedom to dream. As a teenager, Ethan studied late into the night. He carried gratitude in every effort he made. He brought home medals and achievements, and the family cheered. Their pride was his greatest reward. He grew stronger, helping with chores without being asked. It was his quiet way of giving back. Sophie, no longer the little girl she once was, still adored her brother's stories. He gave her the same warmth he had once been given. Sometimes he stood quietly, staring at their family photo. He knew deep inside everything he was becoming, he owed to them. Years passed, and Ethan stood tall in his graduation gown. What began on a snowy sidewalk had blossomed into triumph. Anna's eyes shone with tears, her hand clasping his. To her, he was no longer the boy she found in the cold. He was her son. David placed a firm hand on his shoulder. His pride was quiet, but stronger than words. Ethan carried his gratitude into the world, helping children who were once like him. He gave back what was once given to him. He returned home not with empty hands, but with gifts and care. The boy once taken in was now the one giving. When Anna grew tired, Ethan covered her shoulders with warmth, just as she once did for him. Beside David, he worked side by side, carrying the weight together. Gratitude had turned into love in action. With Sophie, he shared music and laughter. The bond of siblings had grown deeper with the years. One evening, Ethan stood before them. His voice steady, he said, "You gave me a life, and I will spend mine giving back to you." They embraced beneath the golden sunset, hearts full. A boy once lost had found his family, and a family had found their missing piece. In Maplebridge, every morning begins with steaming tea. Thomas lives slowly, as if listening to the heartbeat of his little home and the quiet street outside. He treasures every picture as if guarding time itself. The smiles behind the glass make the room feel warmer. A parcel stamped from the city. Just one short line on the envelope is enough to warm a father's heart. Alex, his son, will soon be honored in the city. The letter feels like a bridge between two distant shores of time. He draws the route carefully, a journey not only measured by steps, but by a father's steady love. He leaves the little house carrying memories packed inside his suitcase and a heart wide open. Maplebridge fades behind him like a painting. Ahead lies a road of surprises and unnamed encounters. Sometimes kindness is as simple as offering a seat. Thomas believes small gestures keep journeys don't always go smoothly, but fathers learn patience early in life. He changes his path, not his destination. Sunlight through the trees pats him gently, urging him onward. When someone needs help, he reacts as if helping himself. The wallet returns and he receives a radiant "thank you." His knees complain of age, but his heart does not. He breathes deeply, then walks on. Alex's voice cuts through the city noise. Suddenly, the distance feels smaller, close enough to embrace. In the package lies Alex's childhood notebook of dreams. Thomas wants to give it when his sun shines brightest. Age asks him to slow down. Sometimes slowing is only to walk more firmly again. Sometimes the city is a friend. A bag of ice and a kind word remind him he's not alone. He arrives just in time. Each step up the stairs feels like entering a new chapter, where pride speaks without words. He places the notebook in Alex's hands like an old compass. Childhood scribbles now guide a grown man. Their voices mingle with the wind. No more distance between busy and waiting, only the closeness of us. He learns to hold the phone at the right angle. Even blurry shots capture joy sharply. The road home feels shorter with company. Each step quietly heals cracks of time. He returns to tea in his small house, but this time, his heart holds a new story. He writes, "I'm proud of you, son." Outside, morning begins again, and a father's love continues to bloom endlessly.